الله أكبر. بحول الله تعالى وقوة إلا بالله. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. رب صل على محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. سبحان ربي النعيم وبحمده صلى الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان الله. الله أكبر. بسم الله بسم الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآله وصحبه. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عبادك الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
I just want to remind everyone that the mask policy is still in effect. So you must be wearing the mask, especially with the new virus. It's supposed to be even deadlier than Delta. So you all have to be careful and please wear your mask.
يا من أنا الجميل وستر القدير يا من لم يعاقب الجريمة والنجاة في السر يا عظيم الأرض يا حسن التجاوز يا واسع المغفرة بخر الدين بالرحمة يا صاحب كل نجوى يا منتهى كل شكوى يا كريم الصف يا أذن المن يا مقتدى النعم فقد استحقاقها ربنا سيدنا مولانا تبارك ربنا أسألك يا الله يا الله يا الله أنا لا تشبه خلقي بالنار برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. السلام عليكم يا نبي الله. السلام عليكم يا رسول الله. السلام عليكم يا صلاح يا سيدي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم يا دعاة رسول الله.
أسألك يا طاهر الزهراء سيد النساء عليه وقوة رسوله رحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين معصوم الدين علي بن أبي طالب وسيم رسول الله ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم أيها الحسن والحسين سيدي الدين الرحمن والسيد شباب أهل الجنة أجمعين ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم أئمة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين لا سيما بقية الله من الأرضين. السلام عليك يا مولاي صاحب العصر السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن سلام عليك يا سيدنا عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسلام الله تعالى مخرجك وجعل الله عنك مسالك والمستشرق بين يديك ونحن وإليك. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته.
مع السلامة يا محمد، كيف حالك؟
عليكم.
I think that's here because my wife is going to fetch this. I don't want to delay your flight.
Guys, hey, don't do it, please.
I want to see you there. I want to see you there and I'll get back.
ऊपर से ये मास्क भी लगा लीजिए। अच्छा ही पूछियो।
We have here.
No problem. Who's burning? Eh? Mom's burning.
Wait, I want to be there now.
Hey, she plays something else. You got your Quran. Come on.
If I can put new batteries. Hold on. You want to see me in this? You want to see me in this again? Then go to my office.
Mustafa.
محمد وعلى محمد صلوات. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. هل أتى على الإنسان حين من الدهر لم يكن شيئا مذكورا. إنا خلقنا الإنسان من نطفة أمشاج نبتليه فجعلناه سميعا بصيرا. إنا هديناه السبيل إما شاكرا وإما كفورا. إنا أعتدنا للكافرين سلاسل أغلالا وسعيرا. إن الأبرار يشربون من كأس كان مزاجها كافورا. عينا يشرب بها عباد الله يفجرونها تفجيرا. يوفون بالنذر ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا إنما نطعمكم لوجه الله لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا إنا نخاف من ربنا يوما عبوسا قمطريرا فوقاهم الله شر ذلك اليوم ولقاهم نضرة وسرورا وجزاهم بما صبروا جنة وحريرا متكئين فيها على الأرائك لا يرون فيها شمسا ولا زمهريرا ودانية عليهم ظلالها وذللت قطوفها تذليلا ويطاف عليهم بآنية من فضة وأكواب كانت قوارير من فضة قدروها تقديرا ويسقون فيها كأسا كان مزاجها زنجبيلا عينا فيها تسمى سلسبيلا ويطوف عليهم ولدان مخلدون إذا رأيتهم حسبتهم لؤلؤا منثورا وإذا رأيت ثم رأيت نعيما وملكا كبيرا عاليهم ثياب سندس خضر واستبرق وحلوا أساور من فضة وسقاهم ربهم شرابا طهورا إن هذا كان لكم جزاء وكان سعيكم مشكورا إنا نحن نزلنا عليك القرآن تنزيلا فاصبر لحكم ربك ولا تطع منهم آثما أو كفورا واذكر اسم ربك بكرة وأصيلا من الليل فاسجد له وسبحه ليلا طويلا إن هؤلاء يحبون العاجلة ويذرون وراءهم يوما ثقيلا نحن خلقناهم وشددنا أسرهم وإذا شئنا بدلنا أمثالهم تبديلا إن هذه تذكرة فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه سبيلا وما تشاءون إلا أن يشاء الله إن الله كان عليما حكيما يدخل من يشاء في رحمته والظالمين أعد لهم عذابا أليما صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات
Thank you, Brother Reza, for saying Quran. Alhamdulillah, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you all for attending the program. I know we haven't been here in a few weeks. To start, just apologies to the sister side. The power for the TV is not working, so I will try to get an extension cable so that you guys can see Sheikh during the program. And for those that are watching at home, apologies for the stream quality. We have to do it from my computer because we're getting the Wi-Fi back on. So apologies for a couple of those technical things today. And also due to that, we can't stream outside either. So sorry for that as well. Inshallah, we have a few people for poetry today. So inshallah, first I'll invite Brother Muhammad Hassan for our station. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat. Diga salawat.
زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، کیسے دروازہ ہٹاؤں، کیسے محسن کو بچاؤں، سانس سینے میں روکی ہے، تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، ہاتھ میں جس کے میرا ہاتھ دیا تھا تم نے، کہہ کے من کن تو جسے مولا کہا تھا تم نے، میں نے ہر موڑ پہ بابا ساتھ اس کا ہے نبھایا، ہاں میرا جرم یہی ہے، تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، تیری امت نے بنا دی ہے یہ حالت بابا، کوئی پسلی بھی نہیں میری سلامت بابا، سانس لیتی ہوں میں جس دم رکنے لگتا ہے میرا دم، صرف مرنے کی کمی ہے، تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، کبھی دربار میں پیشی کو بلاتے ہیں ہمیں، کبھی دروازے پہ آ کے ستاتے ہیں ہمیں، میرے یہ پھول سے بچے پوچھتے ہیں یہی مجھ سے، کیا خطا ہم سے ہوئی ہے، تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، آپ کے سوگ میں تاریک نہ دیکھا گیا گھر، آگ دروازے پہ امت نے لگا دی آ کر، بابا جاں باد تمہارے دیکھیے گھر میں ہمارے روشنی کیسے ہوئی ہے، تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، آئے آئے بابا تیری زہرا پہ مصیبت کی گھڑی ہے، محمد و محمد صلی
Thank you, Brother Muhammad Hassan. Inshallah, next we'll have Brother Salah with from Salat Muhammad wa Ali.
recite another salawat on Muhammad wa ala اللهم صل على فاطمة وعليها وبعلها وبنيها والسر المستودع فيها بعدد ما أحاط به الموت. السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله. السلام عليك يا ممتحنة امتحنك الله الذي خلقك قبل أن يخلقك فوجدك لما امتحنك صابرا. Let's take our hearts to Medina tonight. Hazrat Zahra in her will on the last day of her life, she called Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ya ibn al-Am, lam yabghani illa ramaqun min al-hayat. فحان زمان الرحيل والوداع فاستمع كلامي فإنك لا تسمع بعد ذلك صوت فاطمة. Oh my cousin, today is my last day in this dunya. I will be joining my father Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So I have few words for you. Amir al-Mu'mineen, his tears started flowing in his cheeks, and he said, Oh Fatima, today is a difficult day for me. Only few days ago I lost your father Rasulullah, and today I will be losing you. What she says in her will, يا ابن الأم أوصيك أن لا يشهد أحدا جنازتي من هؤلاء الذين ظلموني وأخذوا حقي. Oh my cousin, bury me in the middle of the night when people go to sleep. I don't want anyone to come and witness where my grave is. Those people who have hurt me, those people who killed my baby, those people who take my right away from me, I don't want them to witness my burial. Nor do I want them to know where my grave is. What she said in her will next. يا ابن الأم وعليك بالحسن والحسين فإنهما من بعدي يتيما. She said, oh my cousin, take care after me of Hassan and Hussein. It was only few days ago that they lost their grandfather Rasulullah, and today they will be losing their mother Fatima. We say, Ya Zahra, we wish you were there in the day of Ashura to see Abi Abdullah al-Hussein under the horses of Bani Umayyah. I wish you were there to see what Zainab had to see on the day of Ashura when she had to call Ya Jaddah, Ya Muhammad, Ya Muhammadun, Ya Ali, Ya Aliyun, Ya Muhammad. اكفياني فإنكما كافيان وانصراني فإنكما ناصران. There was a sheikh with the name Al-Kabi who used to recite in Karbala in the Haram of Imam Hussein. One night this sheikh had a dream. He saw Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. In his dream, Imam Hussein told him, "Oh Sheikh, why don't you recite our Musiba?" Sheikh replied, "Oh Sayyidi, I recite your Musiba. Whenever I come to Haram, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, for both of you I recite." Imam replies, "Oh Sheikh, that is not really our Musiba. What is your Musiba, Ya Sayyidi?" Abi Abdullah replies, "On the day they attacked the door, our Fatima fell behind the door. My brother Hassan and I, we were looking at her and we didn't know what to do. Shall we run after our father, Ali ibn Abi Talib, or shall we stay with our mother Fatima?" On the day of Ashura, when the arrow hit the heart of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein, his blood was pouring on his hand. He put his hand onto his face. Assalamu ala shayb al-khazib. At that moment, Imam Hussein said, "Oh Lord, oh Allah, be witness that those who attacked to my mother's door are responsible for tragedy. They are responsible to what happened to me this day." We should always keep this sentence of our Imam in our mind. Whatever happened, all started from that day, all started from that street. Oh Allah, when we hold the majalis of Fatimiyya stronger than majalis of Muharram, our Master Sahib Az-Zaman will be satisfied with us. For gatherings, for majalis of Fatimiyya that we have, it is enough to say when our Master comes, first he will not go to Karbala to avenge for Karbala. He will go to Medina. First to take his mother's revenge. Sallallahu alayka ya Fatima. Sallallahu alayka ya Fatima. Sallallahu alayka ya Fatima. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. While you have seated, you can softly hit your chest with your chest. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. If no one else will mourn you with me, I'll mourn you for you. Your broken ribs and your burning hope. All this love and solace of you is known. The tablet and the pen attest to you. The secrets of secrets rested with you. Ayah after ayah came in your name. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. How did the door to heaven fall victim unto the flames? How did they look at you with no shame? How they raised their voice and said your name? Alhamdulillah, as much as they rain. Alhamdulillah for my every pain. Alhamdulillah, you gave me Hussein. Alhamdulillah, you gave me Hussein. Alhamdulillah, hamd shakirin. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. His silence spoke, indeed we give you the Kawthar. Pray to God and sacrifice a soul. Surely the barren one is your foe. The rope to Allah is taken in ropes. The hope for the hopeless struggles to hope. His cheeks with tears only twice they were soaked. His cheeks with tears only twice they were soaked. In sajda and when you washed your blood off. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. Sallallahu alayka ya Fatima. In the corner, weeping, you saw her broken ribs. How will you tell your children this? How will you stand up again and pray? Did you bury her on Medina's plain? Did you bury her on Medina's plain? Did you bury her Bainul Haramain? Did you bury her Bainul Haramain? Did you bury her on Medina's plain? Did you bury her Bainul Haramain? Haydar replies, holding back heavy pains. Haydar replies, holding back a heavy pain. She's buried in the heart of all the Mu'mineen. She's buried in the heart of all the Mu'mineen. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. Sallallahu alayka Fatima. This is like the son of Muhammad.
Awesome. Thank you. Inshallah, next we'll have Brother. Are you sure? Listen. We'll have Brother Sultan recite some poetry before she speaks. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Most of you know that I never read Masaib because I can't do this. So my poetry is very simple. Kausar ke kuch maane kijiye. Kasar, plenty, many. Kausar ke kuch maane kijiye. Kausar ka kuch matlab lijiye. Kausar ke har maane अच्छे. Kausar ke sab matlab सच्चे. हर मतलब के माने जहरा. नहरे कौसर याने जहरा. जरो जवाहिर याने जहरा. एक ही दुख्तर याने जहरा. एक ही दुख्तर याने जहरा. बाकी दुख्तर आप ही जाने. बाकी दुख्तर आप ही जाने. आप ही इनका कहना माने. इनसे जुन्नूरैन बनाए. इनसे जुन्नूरैन बनाए. गासिब का रुतबा बढ़वाएं. जुन्नूरैन, two nur together. It is said that two daughters of Hazrat Khuzaiza are married to Usman, one and after other. So they say Zunnurain, दो नूर वाली. अगर दो लड़कियां वहां चली जाएं तो वो नूर वाला कहलाए, और जिस घर से नूर चला उसका जिक्र कहीं नहीं है. इनसे जुन्नूरैन बनाए. गासिब का रुतबा बढ़वाएं. और मेरी जहरा बिन्त पैगंबर. मेरी जहरा ज़ौजा हैदर. मेरी जहरा मादर शब्बर. मेरी जहरा साहिब कौसर. जिनके मवक्किल जाबिर व कम्बर. जिनके फिदाई हजरत बूजर. जिनकी मदा है हफ्त फलक पर. जिनका मातम आज है घर घर. रोक सको तो आज भी रोको. रोक सको तो आज भी रोको. टोक सको तो आज भी टोको. मातम मजलिस और मदा को. दुश्मन की हर एक कदा को. जन्नत में भी जारी रखना सैयद सुल्तान अपनी तरह को.
Awesome. Thank you, Brother Sultan. Inshallah, without further ado, if we can invite you to the member with the salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
برائے سلامتی علماء حق و بالخصوص شیخ جعفر بلندتر صلوات.
And even louder salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad for the hastened reappearance of Imam Zaman. Al-Fatiha. Bismillah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. به نستعين. الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكري وسببا للمزيد من فضلي ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته. ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين أرواحنا له فداء. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ومن الناس من يعبد الله على حرف فإن أصابه خير اطمأن به وإن أصابته فتنة انقلب على وجهه خسر الدنيا والآخرة ذلك هو الخسران المبين صدق الله علي العظيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته جميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات. First and foremost, I give my condolences to all of you on the Shahada, the martyrdom of Fatima Zahra, salamullah alayha. Fatima Zahra, who is Abiha. She is the mother. She's been given this status of being like the mother of her father, the mother of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this is a status that has been bestowed upon her by Rasulullah. And if we truly understand the status of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as he mentioned also to Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib, saying to him, Ya Ali, ana wa ant abawa hadhihi al-ummah. That, O Ali, you and I are the patriarchs of this ummah. We are like the fathers of this ummah. And so if they have that status of being abawa hadhihi al-ummah, the patriarchs of this ummah, then Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha, without doubt, she is the mother of this ummah. So when we mourn the shahadat, the martyrdom of Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha, again, it is not like mourning anyone else. It is like, in fact, if we truly connect to this concept of our meaning and how we should connect to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdhalu salatu wassalam, it is like mourning our own mother, our spiritual mother. This is what the shahadat of Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha is. That she is Ummul Mu'mineen. She's the true Ummul Mu'mineen. She's the one who holds that status. And no one can take that status from her. Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha, as you know, after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that she vied for her rights, that Fadak was taken from her, a gift that was given to her in her lifetime. It wasn't inheritance, but some people thought it was inheritance. So she stood and she made that discussion or that debate about the inheritance. If it is actually an inheritance, then we see that what the reality of this is. It is not as others were stating. And in that khutbah, Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha, she made many very beautiful points, but one of the points that I want to kind of emphasize on is the statement of Fatima Zahra when she said, Faradallahu al-Iman tadhiran lakum min ash-shirk. Subhanallah. She says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, and we take this term, Faradallah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it incumbent, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has set this into motion, or made it an obligation. And I will discuss about that because it's important to understand what exactly is she speaking about when she says, Faradallahu al-Iman, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it, you could say, almost essential to human life, Iman, belief. And at this moment, we're not going to go into what people believe or not, but belief is part of human life. It's something that's essential to man. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, she says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this concept or this idea of Iman necessary for man. And then she begins to explain why. تَطْهِيرًا لَكُمْ مِنَ الشِّرْكِ. to purify you from shirk, from setting up any type of association or partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And again, we're going to focus on that too. That what is meant by shirk? Because it's important. So it's important to understand these two things. First, we'll start with this idea and concept of iman, belief. And here we're not going to focus on, well, what belief is correct or not, but mankind believes. We believe in something. It is not such that a person says, oh, they don't believe in anything. And this is whether a person believes in God or believes that, oh, there is no God. You believe in something. And that belief will shape your actions and how you interact with others, how you, again, your own personal ethics and ethos and how you maneuver in life. So someone will believe in something, and it's very rare you would say that a person, because normally a person's belief in something is pretty much kind of firm, and they develop everything around that. How they engage with things, how they act, whatever they do. And very seldom will you find someone whose belief in things are constantly changing. It happens, yes. But those are people, quite often you'll see that they're confused because today they believe in something and they begin to build their life and their relationships based on that. And then after a couple of days, they start believing in something else, and then you start developing new relationships, new types of interactions. And of course, while these other interactions and relationships already have been developed, and there's an expectation there, so this person becomes sometimes duplicitous, sometimes confused. Why? Because they're constantly changing what they believe, and they constantly change what they think. So, just an example is someone believes that, oh, well, hey, you know, I always have to wear the color blue. And so they're wearing blue, and they set their, relationships with that, then they decide, oh, no, I always have to wear this color yellow. And so then they set up other relationships, but the people who are wearing color blue, they're like, hey, what's going on? And they will still have things that are blue. And so the person ends up becoming kind of confused himself. They're hopping from one belief to the next. But in any case, belief is something that's essential to mankind. We believe in something. Even those individuals who say that, oh, well, you're atheists. They also have belief. There's a belief. And I'll say this, that if you look at someone who's an honest atheist, that's not an oxymoron. Yeah, there are some who are honest. You'll see that they will say that, well, you know what? We actually can't prove that God doesn't exist. I'll actually say this. If you read a lot of their material and say, well, some at one point they would say, oh, well, we can prove that he doesn't exist. But they said, no, we can't actually prove that he doesn't exist. But at the same time, they would say, well, we can't prove he exists either. So they say, oh, well, we can't prove he exists, nor can we prove that he doesn't exist. So they are in this type of middle ground. But one thing that we can understand is that they believe that, yes, there is a cause of things, that nothing is haphazard. And this is the point you bring back to them. Yes, everything has a cause. And if they're honest, they will say, yes, everything has a cause. Nothing is haphazard. And again, not getting into the complexity of the different types of causes and the different types of effects, but everything, they will say, yes, everything has a cause. And you can bring that idea, that concept back to this idea of, well, there's a cause or a complete cause, which is the cause of all causes, that has set everything into motion. And I'll say, well, maybe whatever it is, it's the universe. Of course, we call it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But nonetheless, they believe in something. So Fatima Zahra, she says, that what is the purpose of believing? Why does humanity, mankind, believe in something? What is the essential part of that? And that belief, which is actually true belief, and something that's beneficial. She says that, فَرَضَ اللَّهُ الْإِيمَانَ تَطْهِيرًا So belief is supposed to be that foundation that brings about purity. That foundation which brings about a set of righteousness, something that's harmonious to humanity in its entirety. And it will take you away from this idea of shirk. I'm going to get into what that shirk is a little bit later. But that's the purpose of belief. In fact, even in some of the recent works of some atheists, they say, oh, no, you know what? Actually, atheism can be a positive force for society. Oh, why do you have to believe in a God and follow certain laws in order to have harmony among mankind? But even in their books, when you read it, again, what they come to the conclusion is like, oh, yes, this idea or concept, I'll just give you one concept, that its basis and its root is in what? Is in the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they say, yeah, this idea or this concept that, yes, people should not harm or kill one another, this is good, and we can accept this. This is something that's good, and it should be for society. But why do you have to believe in God? It is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who revealed to his anbiya, his prophets, yes, thou shalt not kill. We want to look at it from a biblical standpoint of view, but from the Quranic point of view as well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that if you kill a single individual unjustly, it's as if you've killed humanity in its entirety. This is an idea that comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you don't believe in God, you don't believe that in this divinity, then why accept the idea in itself? It's part of a problematic, we're not going to go into the details of that. But again, when we look at the idea and belief that if you don't believe in that, then why come to this point? Because their belief is that, what, as an atheist, that we solely rely on what humans think. That my thought, my rationality, devoid of divine revelation, devoid of, is valuable. And if that's the case, then we see that what some individuals, what was their value in life? It wasn't that killing someone was wrong. No, if it provided them with their benefit, they said, well, yes, we can kill these individuals, or we can, we are a better people, or I'm a better person, or, well, yes, this person has something, and I want it, and the only way that I can get it is to what? To eliminate that individual. This is human reason. The reasoning that comes from the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not that reasoning. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He understands His creation better than they understand themselves. Even though, and we will see, and we have seen in the past, and sometimes this is what some atheists they get to say, oh, well, these individuals, they have they claim to be religious, yeah, they've gotten into wars, they've killed each other, and so yes, why do we believe in that? Because in that belief, as they're saying, and they're saying divine belief, that people have killed each other in the name of faith. But again, if we look at the last couple of centuries, it is not belief, it is not faith, it is not the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether it be the revelation of the prophets who came in the past, or even the revelation of the Quran, that people are acting upon in order to make their gains in this world, which means that, oh, well, I have to eliminate this person, or I have to eliminate that country, or I have to do this or that in order to, achieve what I want, completely against the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what is the reason for that? What is the reason for that? Why has man come to this point where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says one thing, He requires from us a particular type of action or way of life, but we do something else. This is the very matter or the reason of the issue behind the Shahadat al-Majid al-Mafatim. Assalamu alaikum.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
In Surah Al-Hajj, chapter 22 of the Quran, verse 11, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he alludes to this reason. What is the reason behind this? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى الْحَرْفِ. That you will find that among people, among mankind, those they will worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ala harf. And their worship and their belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is superficial. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. فَإِنْ أَصَابَهُ خَيْرٌ اطْمَأَنَّ بِهِ. If they are living in a good state, meaning that whatever around them and surrounds them is good and is as they expect, then they're okay. Everything is good. Yeah, I believe. I believe in this. Why? Because everything is good. Everything is the way I expect it to be. However, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنَّ أَصَابَتْهُ فِتْنَةٌ انقلب على وجهه خسر الدنيا والآخرة. However, at the first sign of difficulties, at that point they turn back on what they do. They turn back on their faith. And very interesting, again, this idea or concept of someone rejecting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being atheist, is not new. Within the Arabic text, you find two words from them. They're either called the mulhid or zandiq. Yeah, these are people who rejected, there's no God. But and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here, he's giving that what is the root cause of this? Is everything is going their way? They're okay. They can believe and they can embrace. But if there's a fitna, if there's a difficulty, they face any challenge in their life, this challenge, they throw their hands up. What is this? And if you look at a lot of the arguments of the individuals who are atheists or left from religion and to atheists, they're saying, how can there be a God? All these difficult things are happening. I lost my child, or hey, my brother or family member, they were young. Hey, why did they die so early? They didn't make it to the age of 70, 80, 90, where we expect, yes, from old age they're going to die. But no, this person could be a child. Something happened to them. At the age of 10, 14, they had a heart attack. Why? So when they face that difficulty, in the qalb ala wajh, they throw their hands up. I read a very interesting article about this. Just happened to come across it. This is as I was preparing for this lecture. One psychologist, I wrote an article, and I believe his name was Dr. Bloom. I couldn't find the article again, but it was just interesting. I believe I kind of clicked on it because he was analyzing a very popular show back in the day. It was called Twilight Zone. They made a movie out of it. I'm not sure if other folks know about Twilight Zone. But this psychologist, he said that he started watching an old episode of the Twilight Zone. And from this, he began to, again, he's going to analyze this, and this is what he was doing, analyzing it based on, again, his skill, his knowledge base. He said that as he watched it, he says it was about a gangster who died, again, from his lifestyle. He died. He says, and then when he comes to consciousness, and again, the psychologist, he's not here to prove whether there's an afterlife or not. He was just looking at the depth of which this episode was made on, telling about the psyche, the human psyche. He says, so this individual, this gangster, he says that when he woke up into his consciousness in this afterlife, he says, this guy, he had everything he wanted in his wildest of dreams. Money, people around, all kinds of things, whatever whatever he longed for and lust for from the world, he had it. That was it. So the psychiatrist he was explaining, he says, so each and every day, and this kind of world that he was in, that he would enjoy those things, he would go to sleep. He would wake back up. It was a constant cycle of the exact same thing, over and over and over, to the point that this gangster, it was like, I guess, one person who he acted with, who was explaining things to him, where he was and why he was in this place, but hey, why he was here. So the gatekeeper, we'll call him that. He came to the gatekeeper and says, you know what? So, yeah, this seems like paradise. He said, but, can you take me to hell? He's like, I'm just tired of this. What, and he was supposedly enjoying everything that he wanted in his wildest dreams. But he was like, man, I'm just tired of this. Why do I have to keep dealing with this? So take me to hell so I can have something different. Maybe something that's more difficult. And then the gatekeeper told him, says, you are in hell. He says, this is your hell. So the analyst of the psychiatrist, he was like, what this means, again, this is the lenses of the psychologist. He says, what this means, he says that in order for a human being to have a fruitful life, she must face difficulties. He says, if we're not challenged in life, he says, that life is not fruitful. That life will be such that you will get bored of it because it's not challenging. Nor would you grow as an individual. Nor would your psyche, your mentality, your depth of understanding and knowledge will not grow. It will just plateau, and that will be it. So he was like, we have to, in order to have a fruitful and actually a good life, because the good life is not a life that's without difficulties. Because a good life is a life where you have some difficulties, you have some challenges, and then you overcome those challenges, you surmount those difficulties. He says, and that's a good life. He says, because when you surmount those difficulties and challenges, you will look back and you will think, wow, yes, I was faced with this difficulty, but I was able to deal with it and come out on top of it. He says, and that actually brings, he says, enjoyment to ourselves, to our psyche, to our emotions, to our connections. Because if that was not without difficulty, he says, we would enjoy it. He says, and that's what that episode of Twilight Zone is about, at least from a psychiatrist's standpoint of view. So we face these difficulties. We face challenges. But if we are, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, at the sight of any difficulties and the challenge, we begin to question, why is there death? Why is this young person died? Just all of a sudden. Or I engage with someone, and I'm just going to give a bit of reality here because it is happening, and unfortunately sometimes it's happening among our youth. They say, oh, well, I engaged with someone at this center or that center, and they didn't treat me right. They didn't treat me right. They talked to me this way, or they said this to me, or they did this to me. And from that, I said, oh, I don't want to have anything else to do with a center. I don't want to have anything else to do, sometimes, unfortunately, even with indeed. Why? Because they faced a challenge. Not understanding that challenge is not there to deter you, but that challenge there is for your growth and your development. Yes, not everyone is going to be kind to you. If that was the case, you would not be sitting here mourning the Shahadat of Fatima. If that was the case, we would not sit in Muharram to mourn the martyrdom of Imam Hussein. The martyrdom of Imam. But at which point did these difficulties shake their faith? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَن يَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ عَلَى حَرْفٍ. Meaning that our faith and iman, when it's not founded upon a spiritual connection, a contemplative connection, a connection where, again, we dive into the depth of, well, yes, why do I believe what I believe? And this is why Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, in the battle of Siffin, when one Bedouin came to him, he's in the middle of a battle, and he says, why do we have to believe that there's only one God? Why do we have to believe in Tawheed? La ilaha illallah. Some of the companions say, well, subhanAllah, you see that Ummah is in a conflict. He's leading an army. He's in the middle of a battle. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, no. He says, let him ask this question. He needs to ask this question. He says, if more people ask this question and truly understood their deen, meaning that they're not worshiping Allah ala al-harf. La ya'budu Allah ala al-harf. They're coming to understand the depth of their faith, why they believe. He says that if more people ask this question, these are the words of Muhammad. He says, we wouldn't be here in this battle this morning. If those individuals ask. When our iman is shallow, and we're not truly understanding that, well, yes, why do I believe La ilaha illallah? Why has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set these rules forth? Why has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala set forth these challenges? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, He sets forth challenges for you. This is what fitna is. This is what fitna is. It's not just any difficult, but it is a test, and by that test, a person becomes stronger in your faith and your understanding and your belief. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in that verse 11 of Surah Al-Hajj. وَإِنْ أَصَابَتْهُ فِتْنَةٌ. Fitna, as Imam Ali says, it's not a bad thing. I've mentioned this before, and I don't want to go into details and take away the time. But fitna is that thing which purifies. When you look at the true meaning of fitna, is that thing which purifies. It's actually used for the process of purifying gold. When gold is embedded in rock, you heat the rock up with the gold embedded in it, you heat it up to a temperature, and what happens? The gold melts away. The pure gold melts away, and all the junk is left on the side. This is what fitna is. But when we face these tests, when we face these challenges, oh, someone spoke to me and I didn't like the way they spoke to me. Someone interacted with me, I didn't like the way they interacted with me. Someone called me this name, and based on that, now I have to leave my faith and leave practicing, leave my center. Allahu Akbar. And then some of our youth, they say that, oh, well, it's because of that person, or because of this, or because of the atmosphere in the center. That's not that's not the reason. That is not the reason. The reason, as Allah says, go and understand perfectly. And do not be fooled by this idea that, again, this is one of the positions that the atheists say, so, oh, well, you know what? We based our belief on reason, on science. Understand what science is. Look at what science actually means. Go to the root of that word, the etymology of the word. Science literally means knowledge. How often does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say in the Quran, أَفَلَا تَعْلَمُونَ? Do you not know? أَفَلَا يَعْقِلُونَ? Do you not use your mind and understand? He puts signs on his wall. He says, within yourselves and also within this universe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is encouraging us to go and to study, to examine, to, again, use science to gain knowledge. طالب العلم, as Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he stated, طالب العلم فريضة على كل مؤمن ومؤمنة وكل مسلم ومسلمة. Different hadiths, but the same thing. That seeking knowledge and understanding is obligatory on every Muslim man and woman. Say that, oh, well, we believe in science and not religion. Oh, you believe in knowledge? Well, the Quran. Allah says, yes, go seek that knowledge, go learn that knowledge, go use your intellect. And this is why, again, if we take science to show you that it means knowledge, this is why when it connects to different, you say, fields of study, you can call it the science of engineering, the science of theology, the science of medicine, the science of computers, or as we say, computer science, knowledge of the computer, understanding how it works, how you develop things. It is not anything that your faith and belief says, oh, we don't believe this. No, we believe this. We believe in that knowledge. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has given us a mind and the intellect to use our intellect. It's not that, oh, religion is against science. صلى على محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد وجل.
So, again, we have to, again, not be simplistic in our belief, in our understanding of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we truly understood science as, and again, we are a group of scientists who also, they profess belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They profess belief in God. I won't use Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so you think they're Muslim. Yeah, there are Muslim scientists who believe, but those who are not Muslim, but they're scientists and they believe. They have faith. And some of them who didn't have faith now have professed faith because they said, yes, science cannot solve everything. There's so many things that even you won't believe. There's some of the most simplistic things that have been taught, and you're actually learning them as you're in school. They said that really, it's not really based on actually any scientific principle. There's certain things had to be just kind of put together, and this is the way or how science has been rolled out. But if you look at the definition, it says yes, certain things are not as they seem. I'll just give a quick reference that I think I've given this before. There's a very interesting documentary movie. It's called the Principle movie. You haven't watched this. Developed by a physicist, again, who believed. And simply says that yes, because science does not have the answer. He once thought it, he said, no, science does not have the answer. And it's interesting because he brings some of the top physicists and cosmologists, and he interviews them. And of course, again, he's a physicist, he's a scientist himself, so he knows which questions to ask them to expose them. Look, they don't know what they're doing. There are things that are beyond the comprehension. In fact, as is one of the things that says that when he finished this and it was produced, because again, he was a scientist who believed in God, and again, he's giving his interpretation, his kind of voice over certain things. Again, he lets the scientists speak for themselves, but then he points out, again, these are the problematic areas in science, that there's no way to actually even know this thing. But it's been presented in our schools and our universities as if, oh, hey, everything is the way it is. And some of the people he interviewed, they wanted to sue him. But of course, he did his homework. He knows how to, they were all signed, they were released based on proper documentation that, well, I can use your statements and these things like that. So they couldn't sue him. They just didn't like the direction that he was going in to show that, yes, really, there are things that science today has been founded on, where they said that, well, there's really no evidence for this. But because this has been kind of solidified by the scientific community, so that's what we teach. So again, do not worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ala harf. Understand what your deen says. Understand the value of Islam. Understand the value of the revelation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Fatima Zahra, she made that statement that our iman and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our belief should be such that it purifies us from shirk. Because not believing in any or everything is not beneficial. And this is why we also see in the Quran, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions so many times, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, those who believe and their actions are righteous, الصَّالِحَاتِ. And their actions will only be righteous if it is based upon what? That revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That guidance that has been given to us by Rasulullah. So it's tathir lakum min shirk, from shirk or polytheism or any type of association with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what is this shirk? And why did Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha inshallah you guys will bear with me, this is a special night, so we go a little bit longer. So one of
محمد وآل محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So what did Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha in the Masjid of Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? A scene, and I just want to describe just the beginning of this scene because it was an interesting scene that when Fatima Zahra, she came into the Masjid of Rasulullah, she had a curtain placed there. So she sat on one side and everyone else was on the other side. And from this, the people, according to the details, says the people in the Masjid of Nabi, they began to cry. Because they knew that, well, look, if Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha, she's coming to do this, and she's putting a barrier between herself and others, they knew something very weighty is happening. And I say this because, I'll give you an example, an opposite example. When the doors of the masjid were closed, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He ordered the Prophet that close all the doors to the masjid, the only door that was left open was what? Which door? The door of Fatima. When all of those doors were sealed, their entrance sealed into the masjid, the only door that was left unsealed was the door of Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha. They said that Fatima Zahra, at that point, she came and she sat outside her door with Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein on her side. Ibn Abbas narrates this, and Ibn Abbas is someone that is accepted among all the Muslims. That, oh yes, his narrations are accepted. They said Ibn Abbas, when he saw this, he says, Ya Fatima? He says, the Prophet ordered that all the doors would be sealed. And she said that, yes, all the doors would be sealed except for my door. Here, Fatima Zahra, she didn't put any barrier between herself and others. Everyone saw her. She wanted everyone to see. And she mentioned that, yes, if you do not believe what I'm saying, or if you have an issue, go ask Rasulullah. And people went and asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, yes, every door is to be sealed except for the door of Fatima. So she sat there as a hujjah so everyone can see that, yes, this is the door of Rasulullah. This is the one that hers, the door is the only door, it's not be closed. But when she went into the masjid of Rasulullah, to vie for her rights, she put a barrier between herself and everyone else. They said simply from that, people began to cry. Because they realized that what Fatima Zahra she has to say is going to be very weighty. So on one side, she says that Iman has been prescribed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, تَطْهِيرًا لَكُمْ مِنَ الشِّرْكِ. Then she tells pretty much the ummah at that time, she says, وَأَشْرَكْتُمْ Allah. وَأَشْرَكْتُمْ بَعْدَ الْإِيمَانِ. Because after you believe, now you've come into the state of shirk. What is Fatima Zahra talking about? What is the shirk? And to show you that, again, the words of the Ahlul Bayt, the words of the Ma'asum alayhi are in line with the Quran. You would think that, oh, she's calling the Ummah of Rasulullah, that they have now gone into polytheism after they have believed they came out of the state of polytheism and now they went back into polytheism. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in Surah Yusuf, verse 106, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's speaking about humanity in its entirety. That what? وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. That most will not believe or have that iman as they should. And this is not simply those who are open polytheists, open mushrik, but some who even have come into iman and say, oh yes, I believe. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. But there will be some element of shirk. And what is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaking about? That very point that Fatima Zahra she's making in her speech. To understand this, because we know that, as the Prophet said, this is we categorize shirk. There are two major types. One is shirkun jali and shirkun khafi. Shirkun jali, like open polytheism, is that when a person, oh, well, I've structured this idol and I worship and I bow down and I pray to this idol. That's shirkun jali. Then there's shirkun khafi. There's that hidden, or you could say obscure type of shirk, where we are associating some sort of authority or partnering with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As the Prophet of Allah, he said it's like a black ant on a black rock in a pitch black night. And most of the time, if you were looking, even if that rock was this close to your eyes, you still probably wouldn't be able to see that black ant, little black ant on the black rock in a night which is pitch black. There's no moon, there's no moonlight. The Prophet, he says, this is shirkun khafi. It's not that shirk in divinity where you set up another God besides God. Oh, this is God and this is another God, and I worship this. But it falls into what Imam Sadiq alayhi wasallam, he stated, and this is what he said about Surah, verse 106 of Surah Yusuf. He says, this is shirkut ta'ah. This is setting up an authority or an associate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regards to obedience. Allah. That's shirkun khafi. Doesn't take you out of the folds of the iman. It doesn't say that, oh, well, this person said that they're Muslim or Christian or whatever, they la ilaha illallah, and maybe and this is where, again, the first to say that we all have to weigh ourselves and our obedience to Allah. Because every time we obey our nafs and our hawa, this is shirkun khafi. This is shirkun fi ta'ah. It's Instead of obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where He says that, "No, don't do this, don't drink this, don't eat this," and we did, then who did we obey at that moment? It wasn't Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was that nafs or our whim or whatever we thought it was that we obeyed aside from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm going to touch on this point, but I'm going to go into it again. As Imam Sadiq also, he says, the adna, he says, the most minute form of shirk is that a person creates an idea for themselves, and then they love or they hate upon this, and they can emphasize that point. Again, if a person is saying that, oh, well, I don't believe in that there's a God, and well, only my thought and my reason is sufficient. My thought and my reason is sufficient. This is kind of where a lot of the atheists go. It's kind of interesting that, and there are books that are written that, oh, hey, atheism can be a viable or good social medium for everyone. Based on whose idea? Because if every person says, no, my idea is correct, my idea is sufficient, I don't care what you think, I don't care what you think, how are you to harmonize the thoughts and the rationale of everyone? Yes, there may be a good idea out there that even the collective comes through, but then one or two people are like, well, what does that mean to me? I don't care. It's not what I think, and so I'm right. Yeah, you can be right too. But it is our iman, it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who knows us better than we know ourselves, who places before us the best way that we can all collectively act on. So that shirkul khafi, or as Imam Sadiq alayhi says that shirkun ta'ah. Shirk is finding an associate, an authority with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala other than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned. This is part of why we see that in Fatima Zahra, as we mentioned, that Fadak was not an inheritance. Fadak was given to Fatima Zahra during the lifetime of Rasulullah. But the argument was made that, oh, well, the prophets don't inherit. And Fatima Zahra, she says, oh, is that so? And why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that Sulaiman, he inherited from Dawood? And it wasn't simply knowledge that Sulaiman inherited from Dawood. Dawood, he was ruling a kingdom. And who ruled after Dawood? Sulaiman. Are you saying that the prophets don't inherit? So either Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, God forbid, that he went against the Quran, or what you're saying is against what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established in this. Which one? This is what Fatima Zahra stated. She says, Ashraktu ba'dal. Yes, we believe La ilaha illallah. We believe Muhammad Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But how much do we obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How much do we obey and comply to that sunnah of Rasulullah, the sunnah of Ahlul Bayt alayhim afdal salatu wassalam? And she mentions examples. Like you broke your covenant after giving your covenant. You left from that wasiyah of Rasulullah that everyone heard. And kuntum Allahu fahada alayhim. Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha, and she made the statement and said, subhanAllah, really, we have to reflect upon this. She says that you instilled in the hearts of people fear of other people over the fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why Imam Ali, he couldn't bring 5 people to his door He says, oh, you want me to take back my right? I know Rasulullah, he says to wait. This is going to be a challenge. This is going to be a what? A fitna. Not something that will shake my iman, but actually it strengthens. And the mu'min, when he faces those challenges, their iman becomes strong. Normally, he says that, you want me to take back my right? 5 people come to my doorstep the next day with your head shaven. 5 people didn't come. Only 3 people showed up. Fatima says, you see? And people were silent in the face of injustice and oppression. Why? Because they had the fear of people in their heart, not the fear of Allah. And Fatima Zahra, she said, what? Ashraktum? That how are you fearing people and not fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And she made the statement among everyone. And subhanAllah, I can imagine it. Who would not cry? That after Fatima gave such a khutbah saying that Ashraktum, you fear man over Allah? She says, أنا بنت نذير لكم بين يدي عذاب شديد. I am the daughter of the one who came to warn you. And before me is this great punishment. In other words, that there's a great punishment. I am warning you, just as my father, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he is warning you. That if you disobey Allah, what will it lead to? It will lead to your punishment. But what was the response of the Ummah after Fatima? She said this, أَنَا بَنَةُ نَذِيرٍ لَكُمْ. I'm the daughter of the one who came to warn you. I'm warning you now. What was the response? But to attack the house of Fatima. What was the response to Fatima Zahra's warning? It was to kick the door in on Fatima Zahra. It was to burn the house of Fatima Zahra. That warning fell on deaf ears. And Ashraktum, the response was to kick the door in, the door that came and pinned Fatima Zahra between the wall and the door. That event that cracked the rib of Fatima Zahra. That event, that when it happened, simply because individuals, they wanted to guarantee their tenure, their wealth, and their power. They needed to get the bay'at of Amir al-Mu'mineen. To burn the house of Fatima, to kick the door in, and to drag Amir al-Mu'mineen out of the house. But this test did not deter Fatima Zahra on the path of Allah. They said that she came out of the house, that after this moment, and according to the scene, they said Fatima Zahra, she could only take a few steps and then she would fall on the ground, and she would get up and she would again fall back into the ground. And when she was falling, she began to cry out, Ya Abata, Ya Rasulullah, هكذا كان يفعل بحبيبتك وبنتك. She began to call out, Oh Rasulullah, look at what the people have done to your daughter. Look at what the people have done to your beloved daughter. يافت إليك فخذيني فقد والله فتن ما في أحشاء من حامل. She began to cry out, she began to call out, Hey Baba John, Hey Baba John, Hey Rasul Khuda, देख ले कि इस कसम की गुस्ताखी तेरी महबूब बेटी के साथ की तारी ऐ फिजा आओ मुझे संभालो के खुदा की कसम मेरा फरजान जो मेरा शक्ल में था वो शहीद हो चुका she began to cry out oh Fida oh my son Fida come to my aid come help me I swear that what has happened is that the baby in my womb has been martyred Mohsen shahid ho chuka or Pir Fatima shahid ho but yes this was a shahada that Mohsen in the womb of Fatima the Zahra but Fatima the Zahra she will eventually also die from those wounds that she incurred being pinned between the door and the wall of our home these are the nights of shahada these are the nights that we mourn Fatima the Zahra Shabaye these are the nights of sadness and mourning. These are the nights of Fatima the Zahra. In Shababidan Qadr Madani, Bidan Qadr Kawsar, Siddiq Tahir Fatima. This is a night that we should understand the value of a mother. This is the night that we should understand the value of Kawthar, of Siddiqa, of Tahira, of Fatima the Zahra. Bhai ke shabhaya azan bibi Fatima ولی بیایی که بیشتر بسوزیم برای غربت علی Yes, we're mourning the morning we danced in the Shahadat of Fatima the Zahra in these nights. But our hearts should be broken also for Amir al-Mu'mineen, for the loneliness of Amir al-Mu'mineen. But it isn't only Amir al-Mu'mineen that we should be mourning for his loneliness. And شب بیمادری زینب Kubra. No, we don't only mourn the loneliness of Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is the night that Zainab Kubra, she lost her mother. This is a night that in Masa'ib, she no longer has that example before has a mother. This is a night that the Hassan and Hussein may become yatim. This is a night that the Ummah becomes yatim on this night. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا اللهم بعث هذا المجلس من فاطمه واستر عيوبنا وقد حوائجنا واشف مرضانا واجعلنا من المؤمنين حقا وعجل فرجنا صاحب العصر والزمان واجعلنا من أرواحه والسائلين والمستشهدين به رحمة كل واحد حق محمد وآله الطاهرين فاطمة
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya
पहलू भी शिकस्ता है तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है पहलू भी शिकस्ता है तुर्बत भी शिकस्ता है पहलू भी शिकस्ता है بھی شکستہ ہے. کیا حال یہ امت نے زہرا کا بنایا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے. خاتون کوئی غم سے یوں چور نہیں دیکھی، ایسی کوئی دنیا میں مستور نہیں دیکھی. 18 برس میں ہی لگتی جو ضعیفہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے. دربار میں ظالم نے کی ایسی پذیرائی، کس طرح سے تو بی پھر لوٹ کے گھر آئی. بالوں کی سفیدی نے سب حال سنایا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے. تو روتی رہی گھر میں حیدر سے بھی چھپ چھپ کے، عصمت کی طرح دکھ بھی پردے میں رہے تیرے، کچھ درد تیرے بھی بس جانتی فضا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے. مرہم تیرے زخموں کا بی نہ ملا اب تک، اولاد امیہ کی باقی ہے جفا اب تک. رونے پہ بھی پہرا تھا، تربت پہ بھی پہرا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، تربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے. تصویر حقیقت کی خوابوں کو بنا دیجئے، اے بی بی تکلم کو تعبیر دکھا دیجئے. ماتم تیری تربت پہ ہوتے ہوئے دیکھا ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے، پہلو بھی شکستہ ہے، غربت بھی شکستہ ہے.
Recite the salam on Fatima Zahra, salam alayha. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أزور سيدتي ومولاتي أصالة عن نفسي ونيابة عن والدي ومن قلبي بالزيارة. اللهم صل على الصديقة فاطمة الزكية حبيبة حبيبك ونبيك وأم أحبائك وأصفيائك التي انتجبتها وفضلتها واخترتها على نساء العالمين. اللهم كن الطالب لها ممن ظلمها واستخف بحقها وكن الثائر اللهم بدم أولادها. اللهم وكما جعلتها أما أئمة الهدى وحليلة صاحب النوام والكريمة عند الملئ الأعلى فصل عليها وعلى أمها صلاة تقرب بها وجه محمد أبيها صلى الله عليه وآله وتقر بها أعين ذريتها وأبلغهم عني في هذه الساعة أفضل التحية والسلام. السلام عليك يا رسول الله. السلام عليك يا حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا صاحب السفينة النجاة. السلام عليك أيها المدفون في المدينة ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا بضعة رسول الله. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين وقرة عين الرسول ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين ويعصب الدين علي بن أبي طالب وصي رسول الله ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم أيها الحسن والحسين سبتي نبي الرحمة وسيدي شباب أهل الجنة أجمعين. السلام عليكم أئمة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين. السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي باقر النبيين. السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق الأمين. السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الكاظم. السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرضا راض بالقدر والقضاء. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الجواد التقي. السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الحادي النقي. السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الحادي. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي العسكري. السلام عليك يا حجة بن الحسن القائم المنتظر المهدي. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك وجعل الله من أوهامك وانصارك المستشهدين بين يديك وتحت لوائك. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة وموضع الرسالة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. Jesus sexual Fatih for all of the marhumin والمؤمنات, especially for the mu'min, the marhumin, those who have provided the tabarruk al-Fatiha مع صلاتي.
And just a request to please let the sisters exit first, and to make sure you take your tabarruk as soon as you can, so that the volunteers can leave as early as possible. They took some time preparing, so thank you. Salat ala Muhammad wa alayhi.
In the mic? Oh, it's on. I promise it sounds good. But I was, it would look bad if I recited it, because then I don't want him to feel it. He was doing one. Oh. It was that. Oh. Yeah, I think you recited second. That's what that was.
I wasn't expecting this.
My mom wasn't either.
I was just
She was like, yeah. My mom just taught me too, but like I think, yeah, when you get that kitchen done.
Okay, well, we still can do stuff.
Yeah. But the thing is, without the kitchen, they can't provide any food. Pizza every time. Costco. Yeah. It is, but it's also like a good.
It's not there is food. There's food for thought.
Oh, food for the soul. Awesome. Yes. Can you sit with the? Oh, yes, buddy. How'd you bring this inside? You ate? Good job.
There's a cookie and there was a pizza. Oh, but I didn't like the rest.
Okay.
Bye. Bye back outside.